Hair is such a very fascinating thing, and most people just ignore it until we start losing it. And then all of a sudden, hair becomes a person's self image, it becomes a person's identity, it becomes a matter of confidence, social anxiety, and a lot of other things. But today, I think we are living at a time when cosmetics procedures or hair transplant is no more a closed conversation among celebrities. It has become a very common thing. But somewhere between the Instagram reels, the before and after videos, and so much of marketing endorsements by celebrities, influencers, I think the common man is somewhere lost. They don't know what is right or wrong. And to address this issue in this episode of Capital Talks, we have an entrepreneur who's the director of Herocraft, Mr. Shyam Surendran. To begin with, maybe if we could begin with a slightly philosophical question before we start about transplants or the aesthetic part of it. What does this concept of hair represent in the society?
I think hair represents, different things. On the biological side, it performs certain functions. For example, it protects your hair. It acts as a shield. For example, you're walking in the sun. It acts as a shield. There is a purpose for each and every organ in the body. So hair serves different purposes like that. But now coming to society, hair. People have different concepts about hair.
Yeah.
But in general, if you ask me, hair represents vitality. Hair represents youth, among other things. When you look at a person, the first thing that you subconsciously notice is probably the hair. So hair or lack of that, has a certain linkage to youth. How old is he? How young is he? So that is why, people become very concerned about hair. Again, hair can take different form, different styles. It signifies different things. For example, somebody who has very thin hair, you can perceive him as weak. But if somebody has thick locks of hair, that it conveys the image of somebody who's very strong. Then,
but don't you think, sir, these are all public perceptions?
Yes, definitely. These are all perceptions, built over centuries. And recently, or in the last maybe a few years, it has been accentuated by social media, where you see so many different things on a daily basis. So you're confused, what to do. There are so many different treatments. There are so many different procedures, different styles. People promise so many different things. And as you said, then it becomes difficult. What do you believe in? Or what can you believe? What you should do as an individual? And I also feel that, when it comes to men and women, both of them, perceive hair differently. As you said, men become conscious only when most men or boys become conscious only when they start losing hair. Whereas, women are more conscious from much younger age. They take good care of it. Which is why probably you see far more lady salons than in a gents salon. So when a man goes, he just goes, okay, just cut it and I'm fine. But when a lady goes there, she spends a couple of hours. She takes good care of it, does coloring, styling. And it all also varies from society to society. It also depends on what is the economic status. So it's actually a very, very wide field.
At what point I understand that you are from the tech background? You initially were not in this industry, but you at some point decided to switch to this, cosmetic procedures, which includes, hair transplantation. At what point did you decide to get into this industry?
Actually, as you said, I have been in the IT industry for a long time, working mostly on web and digital platforms. I also had an office in Dubai. So while doing that, at some point, I got bored with technology. I didn't really want to sit in front of the computer the whole day. So that's when I thought, there are a couple of my friends who had already started Herocraft. So I decided to come back from Dubai to India. Then I thought, okay, this would be something which holds promise. So in retrospect, that was a good decision. So that's how I came into the aesthetic industry.
When do most people actually begin worrying about hair loss?
Right. I think, that also has changed over the decades. So if you look at the recent past, everybody has a phone in his hand. So somebody right from 15 or 16 years old, they start taking photo, they start taking selfies. So this goes on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if there is something missing, their friends start pointing out. So I think in the recent past, due to the proliferation of social media, Instagram photos, it comes from a very near circle. Whereas in olden days, as you said, it would have been from a salon,
yeah,
or from a photographer, or maybe a family member. But right now, what we also see is that we see a lot of youngsters come in to a clinic for consultations. They might be just 19 or 20 years old. They have different varying stages of hair loss, but they're very conscious. They want to know if a little bit of corner has gone, can I fill this? They're very, very concerned. And I think it's more to do with psychology than the actual look, right, or the actual loss of hair. Plus, if you are, if you have any insecurities, then, that would play upon this, and it aggravates your perception that you're losing hair.
Right. So, what are the most common emotional reactions that people show when they first come to your clinic? Is it a concern, or is it like an urgency they have, or is it an incident happening in their life? What kind of emotions do they go through?
I would say, they go through many emotions, youngsters come in saying their friends are teasing them because their hair is going. Then we have a lot of people, maybe in the age group of say 25 to 28, who have gone to see a girl and they have been rejected, because they don't have enough hair. And you can see them, coming in and crying, saying that, doctor, can you do something? Then, there are also a lot of cases where people actually go into depression because of this.
Yeah.
And in fact, sometimes we have directed people to go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because more than a medical treatment, they need a treatment for the insecurity. So you see a wide range of emotions. Then we have also noticed that people who are economically weaker, their insecurities tend to increase. Whereas if you look at people who have a lot of wealth, they are not that much concerned about this.
Right. In fact, Elon Musk himself, if you look at how he looked 15 years back and how he is, a lot of people could afford at that early stage itself. So economics is also a factor which, can trigger a person's decision whether to go ahead with
Right.
transplantation or
Right.
not. So let's address the question directly now. Is hair loss always genetic, or are there factors like stress, sleep disorder, pollution, lifestyle, your eating habits, or is it a combination of all of these factors which contributes to this problem?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you've pointed out, most of the factors that lead to hair loss. Genetic is a strong reason, I feel, but that would probably come in at a slightly later stage in your life. But nutrition, stress, sleep, your environment, all those things can affect your hair growth or hair fall. In addition to that, you see people taking a lot of treatments. Sometimes people use a lot of oils, which when you use that oil, hair grows. But if you stop that, not only does the hair growth stop, maybe your existing hair might fall off. Then you have treatments like, if you go for styling, you use the hot iron. So if you do that repeatedly, that can affect your hair. Plus, the usage of gels. So there are a lot of factors which affect hair loss.
How about smoking and drinking habits? Is there any interconnection?
Yes, smoking and drinking would also affect hair loss. But it all depends on that particular person. It may not have the same effect on everybody. So it depends on that person's physiology also.
Right. So if you closely read the literature of the hair loss, there are a lot of terms which for a layman is not easy to understand.
Right.
For example, there is temporary hair fall, there is balding, there is thinning, there is receding hairline.
Right.
So could you just try to help us understand these terms and concepts, sir?
You started off with temporary hair loss. It could be due to, for example, it could be due to a stressful incident, or it could be due to exposure to a chemical. Earlier I was talking about the product that you use. Those could be temporary, but if that continues, then it can become permanent. Receding hairline, as you age, your hairline would go back.
Right.
That is a purely natural phenomena.
Okay.
And balding is also part of that receding hairline. So what happens is, there is a hormone called DHT, so which attacks hair follicles.
Right.
So in men, that is the main cause of hair fall. So when this DHT attacks follicle, the follicles slowly die away or they become very small. So that happens. It could happen from front to back, or it could happen in your crown.
Scalp.
On your crown area.
But how does, of course, there are certain terms which a layman may not be able to understand, but how does one get to know that it is a permanent hair loss? How do I go for a treatment? Where do I begin the treatment?
Right. So, hair fall, it would start slowly and then progress as you age. So it again depends on what is your concern. Some people are concerned when they see a few hairs falling on the floor, they are concerned.
Which is a natural thing.
Yes, say 100 to 200 hairs falling is a natural thing. But anything it goes beyond that, then it is probably a cause for concern. It could be time for you to go and consult a doctor. Again, it depends on age. So usually, say up to say 19 or 20 years of age, that much of hair fall would not be there. But after you cross your 20s and 30s, then your hair fall would progress. So what we would ideally, tell people is that, if you start taking care of hair at a younger age, the chances of the life of your hair extending will be more. The earlier you seek treatment. So there is nothing any doctor can do which can make hair loss irreversible. Hair loss is a fact of life that you have to deal with. What doctors or clinics can do is we can slow it down. So you can start with treatments like PRP, GFC. So what we do there is you extract the blood, you separate plasma from it, and you inject it back into the hair. So those are nutrients which will aid your hair in maintaining its current growth.
Okay.
So once your hair falls off, even if you do PRP or GFC, it will not come back. Then you will have to go in for hair transplant. So what is advisable is take a treatment till a point of time. If you reach balding, then you can do a hair transplant.
Right. But I think one more question which I wanted to add, in addition to what you had spoken, was you said one needs to take care of the hair.
Right.
But before beginning the hair loss, how should one take care? Because the way I should be taking care might differ from another person.
Right.
Is there any generic advice that you can give for people?
So taking care of hair, I would say there are two aspects. One, what you actually do on your hair. Second is, as we discussed earlier, talks about nutrition. Have a very good balanced diet. I know it's easy to say, but that is something that you need to do not only for the hair but for your whole body. Make sure that you take exercise, you have a good diet, sleep. Make sure that stress is also in a manageable level. So these are all things which affect hair loss.
Okay.
So these are the things that you need to take care of. In addition, on your hair, you could go in for treatments like PRP or GFC. The other very, very important thing is keep your hair clean. Make sure that if, for example, for guys, dandruff is a very common thing, and guys generally, men generally do not pay much attention to it. So make sure that if you have dandruff, you take treatment for it. It could be a local shampoo that you buy in a shop. It could be a medicated shampoo, say with ketoconazole content. So these are the basic things that you can do, basic hygiene for the hair.
And there are also a lot of myths about using coconut oil and eating green, colored vegetables. Is there any anything factual about it?
See, I mean, there are two different sides of story. Our parent, the grandparent, they always, especially in Kerala,
yes,
they use a lot of coconut oil. But science indicates that, it may not have that much of an effect that people would point out to. But if you look at modern time, you don't see many people doing that. Or I mean, many people using coconut hair. So I think that is something which is still open to debate.
And maybe you are in this industry for the past 10 years, more than 10 years. From your experience, are the younger generation experiencing more hair loss than the previous generations? Or as years pass by, are people becoming more concerned, or are they actually losing hair?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. They are actually losing more hair, and on top of that, they are more concerned. So that is why you see a lot of, a lot of hair salons, clinics, etc., booming.
Don't you think the social media has also created a lot because today there is a lot of selfie culture, then reels, videos, and all of this psychologically, knowingly or unknowingly, it is impacting us as to how we should present ourselves in these media. But on the other side, we're also celebrating actors like Fahad Fasil. There is a contrast there. There is an irony there. So how do you wish to look at it as don't you think it's a psychological than the real problem?
Yeah, actually it's more psychological than a real problem. And as you said, now social media has played a wide role, and it is not only when it comes to hair, when it comes to your body shape, aesthetics. In all of that, social media has played a big role in maybe I would say increasing people's insecurities about themselves. And I would say in a country like India, it is much less, for example, if you compare to a country like say China or Korea, where, the selfie culture, camera culture is, way much more than, what we have today.
Okay.
I think it could be a matter of time where, here also that trend increases.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, treatments are required, not only physical, but a lot of mental treatment or counseling would also be essential, in dealing with these problems.
I also got to know that you've got into aesthetics part of, self-expression as well. Since you've hinted about it, can you also talk about how you've expanded your business, not just from hair regrowth, but also to other verticals?
I think we've been in the hair industry for quite a long time. So we initially started off with, hair patches, hair transplant. Over a period of time, that business has stabilized. So we were thinking, what should we get into next? And skin is a natural extension to hair, because you always find hair and skin clinics where you get both treatments together. So we've added skin treatments to a few of our branches. We are also, getting into cosmetic or plastic surgery, where, we would like to provide a one-stop shop to patients who come in for anything regarding their looks, whether it be the hair, skin, or body. So they don't have to go to different places to get the same treatments. So I think this is a common approach in bigger cities, but in Kerala, I think, we're probably one of the first clinics to come up with all these things together.
All in one?
All in one.
Okay. Now, I'll come back to the hair regrowth, hair transplant. What do you think are some of the biggest myths or misunderstandings people generally have about hair transplantation or hair regrowth?
Yeah, I think, myths is there on one side. On the other side, there are a lot of concern that people have. Okay, what happens when you implant or transplant a hair? Does it go into your skull? Is the brain affected in some way? So that is something that people had a lot of fear. Then there is also a fear of infections. Recently, there was a case in Cochin where a person did a hair transplant, and for some reason it got infected, and it got to such a stage where urgent medical attention was required.
In fact, a person also lost his life.
The person losing his life probably a few years back, but that was not in Kerala.
Okay.
The thing is, see, when you go into hospital for any treatment, there is a chance of loss of life. Not see, hair transplant is a medical procedure. Similarly, there are other procedures, and I'm sure you often hear about different cases. They've gone into a hospital, but unfortunately, there has been a loss of life. So there is nothing in hair transplant directly which leads to hair loss, but there are other surrounding aspect. For example, say anesthesia. Uh, Hair transplant is done under local anesthesia.
Okay.
So, like any medical procedure, there are a lot of checks that need to be done before you do a procedure on a patient. For example, the patient could be a heart patient. So you need to maybe get a fitness certificate from a cardiologist, make sure all parameters are under control.
So all this is done by the clinic, or the
Yes.
patient has to get these consents?
So what happens when they come to a clinic for consultation, we take a detailed medical background. We check if there is any diseases that he had, any allergies that he has, or there is any medical condition which warrants further investigation. So depending on that, our doctors prescribe a certain set of tests. So the person goes and does a set of tests and comes back. Based on that evaluation, we will tell him if he is ready for hair transplant. Rarely, maybe 5% of cases, there is chance that we do not recommend a hair transplant because medically there is no safe way we can do that procedure. But in most cases, we have been able to successfully do hair transplant for people who have come to us, even with a wide variety of conditions. There are patients where...
When you say medical conditions, what are those? Like, suppose a person has undergone a heart surgery,
right,
or is diagnosed with a chronic illness,
right,
can he do a hair transplant?
So what happens is, when you put a person under anesthesia, there are certain changes, which occur in the body because of the anesthesia going in. So for a heart patient or a patient with any kind of chronic condition, we need to check if all parameters will be safe during and also after the procedure. So with our medical team, we have a team of plastic surgeon, dermatologists, we have a team of anesthetists. So doctors do the consultation, and if required, we take the help of external doctors also, like a fitness certificate from a cardiologist, or in certain cases it could be a certificate from a neurologist, and then we go ahead with the procedure. Okay. So like any other medical procedure, a lot of care needs to be taken about different aspects. So if that care is not taken, then there is always a chance for a complication, which is why we recommend customers go to clinics which have a good team of doctors, a good background. So that checks should be done from the patient side also.
There's also a doubt which I always had, which is about wearing helmets.
Right.
Would continuously wearing helmet also lead to hair loss?
Yes, it can lead to hair loss. It is not only a helmet, but anything which covers your head, and it could affect your hair loss. That need not be a primary reason for the hair loss, but it would play a small part. Okay. Because see, one thing to understand that hair, most of the factors about the hair come under your scalp. So there are internal reasons, external reasons. Internal reason would far more outweigh external reasons. So wearing a helmet, it only affects the exterior. So the effect is a little.
Okay. For someone who is new to hair transplant, who's planning to, to help him or her understand the procedure, can you just tell us the different stages of how the hair transplant takes place?
So the first step is when a patient comes in for hair transplant consultation. So the doctor examines his or her hair, and assesses various factors like what is the baldness level. There is actually a Norwood scale for baldness.
6 different stages.
It starts from 1 to 7.
1 to 7.
Yeah. So there are 7 stages. So we tell the patient that this is the stage you are in. We also check, what is his age, what is his profession, what is his lifestyle.
Does profession, all that also matter?
Yeah, profession matter in the sense, for example, you work in a air-conditioned environment. You are in a much safer zone compared to somebody, who...
exposed to sunlight.
Yeah, exposed to sunlight. For example, if you take somebody who's a Swiggy delivery boy, he's out in the sun all day. So he's wearing a helmet. He probably is not able to take his food on time. So a lot of factors affect that.
Primarily the lifestyle,
The
eating habits, the sleeping pattern,
Right.
all what we spoke earlier.
Right. And all the profession terms, for example, you have a person who's a construction laborer in the Gulf. So he is exposed to elements. He works in a very, very hot environment. The water he drinks may not be very good. He might be taking bath with hot water. So all these factors would also affect. So we assess, various factors, and we tell them that first, okay, we need to tell them first. Very young patients who come in, say maybe 20 or 21, we tell them it's not yet time to do hair transplant. Please wait a few more years, so that your hair, the growth, we can assess it, and then suggest the transplant for you. And then we tell them, okay, we look at, okay, how many grafts are required to cover your bald area.
Graft means, if you could explain.
Yeah. So your hair, if you pluck it out, you will find the top part of the hair, then you will find the stem and the root of the hair.
Okay.
So that is called a graft. So within a graft, there could be different hair follicles. So some grafts will have a single hair follicle. Some grafts will have two. Some grafts will have 3 hair follicles. So we assess, okay, what is the area required to be covered, and based on that, suggest the number of grafts for him.
Okay.
And we also have to look at how many grafts is it possible to extract from the donor area. Okay. So the donor area is in the backside of your head.
Why is that area known as donor area?
Yeah, because that is where you extract the hair from. And if you notice, for most people, they will have a strip of hair at the back of the area or the donor area. This is because for some reason those hairs are resistant to DHT.
Okay.
So even if it's a very old person, you will find the hair here.
Yeah.
So we extract the hair from the donor area. So we also need to assess how many hairs is it possible to extract. Also, in some cases, we plan, for example, a guy who's say 27 or 28 coming in. We tell them we will do, so say 3,000 grafts in the first stage. And we also leave some hair at the back so that in case he requires a transplant at a future date, it is still possible to harvest graft from that area.
Oh, so multiple hair transplant is possible from the same donor area?
Same donor area.
Oh, okay. And how many times can that be repeated? Twice?
We have done cases where we have extracted 3 times or done it in 3 different sessions. More than that is probably not possible. Okay. Because by the time you come to the 3rd session, hair would be depleted from that. So it requires a very expert doctor to extract from it a 3rd time.
So up to 3 times it is possible?
Not for everybody.
Okay.
It depends
based
on
the density of the hair.
Yes, density, strength, how good is your donor area. For example, if you are a grade 7 patient, you have just a little bit of hair, you can do it only once. So we advise the patient on different aspects of hair transplant. Then he decides, okay, yes, I am going to do hair transplant. We give him all the tests. He comes back with the tests. Our doctor sees that and checks if there is any further tests or medicines advisable. And then we fix a date for the hair transplant. So we tell them, certain things you need to do: have a good sleep, have a good diet. And if the patient is smoker or drinker, we ask them to stop that for, say, a couple of weeks before doing it.
Okay.
So there are some checks before hair transplant. So we advise them regarding all those things. And then they come in for hair transplant. So on the day of hair transplant, they come in, say, around morning 8:39. Doctor checks his vital statistics, goes through his medical history once again, confirms with the patient that they have not left out anything. Because in some cases, patients may not disclose everything. For example, there might be people who use narcotics. Okay. So that is something we need to be careful.
But that also has an impact on the hair growth.
Very much, yeah. Not only on the hair growth, but on during the medical procedure also. They need to, wean off any addictive substances much before this.
All right.
And then, we draw a hairline saying this is how your hair will come.
Okay.
Your hairline will come. So depending on the age. So if the patient is, say, 40 years, the hairline would be slightly more upwards. Youngsters usually come in saying they want it till here. So there's something called a 4-finger rule. So you keep 4 fingers from here. So the hairline should ideally start from here. And sometimes people come and say they want to start from here. We tell them, sorry, that's not possible. Then many people might also come in with their college pic saying, we want to look like this. So sometimes we try and, mimic that hairline. And then, you do the trimming of the hair. So before doing the hair transplant, you trim off the hair completely so that it is easy to extract and also implant the hair.
Is trimming mandatory? I've seen video reels, even with full hair, there are technology which, with full hair you can do the transplant.
See, there are technologies by which you can do with the full hair, but it has more disadvantages than advantages. And it is mostly a marketing technique rather than a medically advisable technique. The reason is because, say, you extract a hair from me and implanting it here. So if you have a full head of hair, you have to separate the hair, then you have to implant it, then you go back, separate the hair. So it becomes, not only does it become more difficult for the doctor to do the procedure, but it's difficult for the patient to keep it clean when the procedure is done.
Because I've seen an ad which says right from day one, you can start going for function because it doesn't seem as if you've done a hair transplant. All that marketing, gimmicks I've come across.
So in very few cases, that is possible and also medically advisable. But in vast majority of cases, it is much better to trim the hair and do the hair transplant. So it is again, it is not only looks that is important, but your safety is very important. So when you have long hair and you do implant within that, the chances of infection become much higher. Also, it is difficult to spot the infection. So if you have a shaved head, you can quickly spot. So what happens is once you implant the hair, there will be a blood clot there. So before going, the surgeon cleans the scalp so that the clot is not there. But tomorrow there might be a little bit of blood clotting. So you will not be able to see if something like that is there. Whereas with a clean head, it is very visible. So medically, it is always advisable to do with a shaved head. We also have some celebrities coming in. In certain cases, that is possible. For example, if you have just a small area where you need to do this, then we can do without trimming. It can become a little more difficult for the doctor, but if it is medically safe, then we can do that.
I've seen a lot of my friends who wanted to do hair transplant, but they are skeptical, thinking that it is risky, it is expensive, it is painful. And they also comment that it looks quite unnatural, not a natural hairline. These are all some of the concerns that I've. How far has the technology advanced in addressing these concerns?
See, all these points that you have raised are very valid. Is it risky? Yes, there are risks if you don't do it with the right doctor and with the right clinic.
But how do I know whether it's the right doctor or the right clinic?
See, probably you should look for a clinic which has been in the industry for a long time. So you can see there are a lot of clinics mushrooming, and unfortunately, this is an area where the regulation is a little bit of lax. So we have also heard of clinics where there are technicians who do hair transplant. So do your own checks before going to clinic and selecting it for hair transplant. Go to reputable clinics which have good doctors on board. They have good facilities. Go and check if the hygiene factor is there. So check their website, check their Google reviews, very important. So I would probably ask you to go to a clinic which has been in existence at least for 5 years. So go back in 5 years and see how are the reviews doing. So these are some of the things which you can look for. Also check if there is a plastic surgeon or a dermatologist attached to a clinic. So these are things that you can check for.
I've also heard some of my friends saying it's good to go to Turkey and do the procedure and come back. How realistic is that? Is it expensive? Or?
See, Turkey has been a popular destination for hair transplant for quite a long time. The technology, for some reason, has started in Turkey, and it's been in vogue there for quite a long time. And if you look at it, we see a lot of patients in the Middle East who go to Turkey for hair transplant. So it's like a cottage industry in Turkey. But from India, I would not advise a person to go there and do a hair transplant for a lot of reasons. Of course, there might be good doctors, good clinics, the latest technology. But some practical consideration that arise, are you able to communicate to the doctor well? So you go there, you are not sure how well they can speak in English.
Right.
So how do you express your requirements? This is what I want. Doctor, can you do it like this? And if there's something, and if, for example, if that person is not very conversant with English, then how do you convince them? Once you go there, the doctor, technician, front, everybody would be from Turkey. I'm not sure how well they would speak English. Even if they speak English, there are always cultural barriers. You might feel scared. Okay, can I ask this doctor something? So whereas if you come to a local clinic, you have Malayali doctors, nurses, so you feel much more comfortable. The other fact, there are a couple of factors. The other factor is that you have to travel there, you have to come back. So once you do the transplant, you need to take care of your head for a couple of days. So when you're staying there, when you're traveling back, it becomes a little difficult for you. Third, it would also be expensive going from here. Whereas if you go from, say, Dubai or Middle East, it would probably be a little bit cheaper. Again, there are also people who go there saying, okay, let me have a tourist experience also while I do my transplant. So from here, we find very few customers going to Turkey and doing.
In fact, a lot of local clinics have started branding it as if they are a Turkey.
Yes, I would say that is smart marketing from their side.
Right.
Saying,
is it only Turkey, or are there other countries also which is promoting such a hand transplant?
See, Turkey is, I would say, the most popular.
Right.
The countries like, say, Thailand is also big into medical tourism. So in Thailand also, we have seen, clinics offering hair transplant. Right. Dubai is a very popular international destination where, people can come from different parts of at least the Middle East or the nearby areas to do that. Greece is one place where, where I believe, hair transplant was done for the first time.
Okay.
So they also have some probably good clinics there.
Another concern is, will a transplanted hair fall again?
See, we cannot say that transplanted hair will not fall. But as I mentioned earlier, the hairs that we are transplanting are from the donor area. Those hairs are much stronger and they are DHT resistant.
Okay. So what is DHT?
Dihydrotestosterone.
Okay.
And so the chances of that hair falling is much less compared to your existing hair. What also happens is that the person might have existing hair and we transplant, taking the hair from here, putting it here. So while the transplanted hair may not fall off, there is a chance that your existing hair will fall.
Oh.
So there, again, we advise,
Why does that happen, sir?
Again, it could be because of DHT, it could be because of other factors. When we do hair transplant along with the existing hair, there is always a chance that the existing hair will fall off.
Okay.
So sometimes we advise certain patients, okay, let that hair fall off, then we will do on a completely bald area so that, hair will not fall again.
And how important is the doctor's artistic skills or doctor's ability to do the transplant according to probably one's facial structure or the aesthetics of that person?
Right.
Is that important?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that a lot of clinics, it's the technician who does it and not the actual doctor.
Right. It's a very, very good question. So the doctor's artistry, I would say, is very, very important. Not only the artistry, but how passionate is the doctor? How does he or she want to deliver the best results? So hair transplant is not rocket science. So you are taking hair from here and implanting it here. But to get a good result, you need to take in a lot of factors. Okay, what is the shape of the face? What is the size of the forehead? What is how big is your skull size? say you always, for example, you might have only say 3,000 grafts. So 3,000 grafts would probably be around 7,500 individual hairs. So how best can you place those 7,500 hairs and give the best results? So you also have to see how much hair does he have at the back, on the side. What kind of hairstyle would probably look good on him?
Yeah.
So the doctor needs to take all these factors. So definitely it is much more art than a science, and definitely it is a doctor's passion, expertise, which will make sure that the result is good. And only a doctor who has performed, say, maybe 200, 300, 400 surgeries would be able to do a good job.
Have you ever had clients coming with celebrity photographs and coming with unrealistic expectation? They want to look like Hrithik Roshan or to look like Shah Rukh Khan, showing their hair density. Did you have such experiences?
Definitely, that is something that our consulting doctors have to face
almost every day.
Probably not almost earlier days, people were very unrealistic, saying, I want, as you said, hairstyles from actors, Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, everywhere. Or they would also look at another celebrity like sports stars and say, I want to look like that. But we always counsel patients saying that you need to have realistic expectations. So setting expectations is very important, not only in hair, but when it comes to skin and body also. And sometimes we will have to refuse the patient if his expectations don't match what we can provide. Then we politely tell the patient, sorry, we will not be able to do that. Please look at a different clinic.
But have you ever come across patients where you have advised people you cannot do it?
Yes, we have advised people. So sometimes what happens is we know for sure, that they will go to a different clinic and do it. But then we are helpless. Also, sometimes it also happens, there was a cardiac patient, we told them that, in certain cases, we tell them that, we cannot do it within our premises. We have to go to a hospital where there is standby support for different things. So we tell them that, we would be able to do the procedure only there, but the cost would increase. In some cases, the costs might also double. But then the patient, he might go to a different clinic, and they will say, no, it's okay, we can do it here. And in fact, there's a case where the patient has gone and done it somewhere. And unfortunately, he was okay at the end of it. But when we look at, we cannot take that risk. Even if there's a 1% risk that something can go wrong, we would prefer to err on the safer side.
Yeah. Today, there is also, again, what is seen in social media is discounted transplants. Right. During Vishu or some festival seasons, a lot of these clinics are marketing and branding, offering discounts. And what are the hidden dangers or risks? Is there any compromise that these clinics do?
Yeah. See, so the clinics which perpetually offer discounts, they would have to compromise certain things. It could be a compromise on the facility. It could be a compromise on the doctor. It could be a compromise on experience. It could be a compromise on overall customer care. So these are things which are a reality. So when you go for something which is very discounted, whether it's in hair transplant or in any other case, you have to see if that discount is worth your health.
But for a layman, how do I know? Because see, how do I even choose a clinic? Is there any sort of certifying body globally or nationally which says, yes, of course, there are Google reviews which you spoke about. There is also word of mouth, which can be a credible source. Right. But are there any certifying bodies or accreditations?
Yeah, see, there are no accreditation for a hair transplant clinic as such. And yes, it becomes quite difficult for the customer to choose what is the right clinic. For example, even if you have a very well qualified doctor, that does not mean that you will get a good result. Or even if you have say a technician, that may not mean that you will get a bad result. So it's a very difficult for customers to choose that. So you have to rely upon a combination of various things, as you said, word of mouth, Google reviews. go for the consultation, try and talk to existing patients or patients who have done that before. So it is a combination of all these factors.
Yeah. So in this aesthetics and self-image industry, there is a lot of cultural shift which would have happened in the past 10 or 15 years. What are some of the major aesthetic sense that has changed in people, irrespective of gender, or since you also have clinics in other cities and states, is there any regional differences? Is there any regional choices or preferences?
Yes, it would vary from state to state, country to country.
By the way, which all places do you have your clinics, sir? Where all do you have your clinics?
We have 13 clinics in Kerala. We have one in each district except Idukki.
Okay.
And Tamil Nadu, we have clinics in Coimbatore, Salem, Madurai, Chennai. Karnataka, we have clinics in Bangalore, Mysore, Hubli. And we also have a clinic in Raipur, which is in Chhattisgarh.
Okay. And everywhere the cost is standardized, uniform, or does it vary?
See, sometimes in smaller cities, cost would be slightly lesser due to various factors like, the cost of the location, cost of rent. So depending on cost of living, sometimes cost can vary. But I would say it is more or less uniform. And as you said earlier, sometimes, we also give certain offers.
Just out of curiosity, I don't know if you can reveal it. How much would an average cost would be for per follicle? Is that the term that you use?
Yeah, the cost, we can say per follicle, per graft, per hair. We generally use a term per graft. So the cost varies from say 25 to 40 rupees per graft.
Okay.
And if you look at the overall cost, it can vary anywhere from maybe 70,000 rupees to say 1.5 lakh at the higher end.
Is that all decided based on the density which the client would want, the hair density? Or
not on the density, but more on how many grafts are required, how many grafts are possible.
Okay.
So what is the estimated time that the surgeon would need to do the surgery? For example, if it takes a longer time, if there are, say, some medical complication, the cost would be slightly higher. Also, sometimes, some customers come and say, we want a plastic surgeon to do this. So when you require a plastic surgeon to do the procedure, the cost becomes slightly higher, which range would be around 70,000 to say 1.5 lakh. Okay. And people think that hair transplant is very expensive. That is something they had in their have in their minds. But surprisingly, we find that most of the people who come and do hair transplant are from a middle income or a lower income group.
Okay.
So initially, when we started, we thought initially the cost of transplantation was much higher. When the first clinic came in Kerala for hair transplantation, the average cost was around 3 lakhs. But now it has come to a much more affordable level. And on top of that, you also have finance from like Bajaj Finance and all that. So you can take an EMI and do your hair transplant. And interestingly, what we also find that in Kerala, for example, EMIs are not that popular.
Okay.
Plus, people, even if they have money, sometimes they may not be eligible for an EMI based on the credit score. But, because it is for their self-image, they would find the money from somewhere and do it.
I think there used to be a time where people used to hide cosmetic procedures. Now I've seen a lot of people making vlogs. There are video reels showing before, after. How has the public perception about all this changed over the years?
Yeah, I think people still don't want to publicize that they've done a hair transplant. So if you look at our customer, 90% of them don't want us using their photos anywhere. So only around 10% are ready to communicate to the world that they've done a cosmetic procedure.
But it becomes quite evident once they shave their head. It becomes quite evident. They can't hide it.
Yeah. See, we also, for example, have certain patients coming from the Gulf. They'll come here, they'll take a room, they'll stay here for 7 days after the procedure, and they'll fly back.
Okay, so, why do they have to stay for 7 days?
So there's a procedure on the 7th day where we clean the head, make a final checkup. And from then, we give them a set of instructions. It's not necessary that they have to stay here for 7 days, but sometimes they also want to take a break. So they come here in the 7 days. They don't inform their family here that they've come.
Okay.
The friends in the Gulf, they tell them that we are going to India, and then they come back, and maybe after 6 months or 1 year, when they come back home, they come with a head full of hair.
Are there other things to be applied, like are there health supplements or ointments or tablets to be taken after the procedure?
Right. So we advise, certain supplements, based on their age and all that. In addition to that, doctors also, for certain patients, doctors also advise certain treatments or sprays like minoxidil, which will help augment the hair once it is grown.
Okay. And how long do they have to? I've also heard that minoxidil, once you start using it, one needs to continue it throughout.
Right. So minoxidil, once you start using it, it is advisable that you continue, because once it stops, then hair could go back to previous state. Okay. But what we generally tell patients is, we tell patients that these things are not required. But some patients, they would like to get the best results, and they are okay to use minoxidil
throughout their lifetime.
Yeah. There are some people who would do that, who want to do that.
Okay. But ideally, what is suggested once the procedure is over? How many months should one continue using minoxidil?
In certain cases, to augment or protect or enhance existing hair, the doctors would suggest minoxidil. There are also cases where the patients coming saying, their baldness is there in their genes, their dads have it, their uncles have it, and they're very concerned. So in those cases also, we advise them to use minoxidil. But it is also personal preference. There are some patients who come in saying, I don't want to use minoxidil. Will I get good result? Yes, you will get good result. That is your natural result that you will get even without using minoxidil. So it all depends on the patients and on the conditions that doctors would advise.
Interestingly, this conversation around self-care and self-image was once dominated by women. But today, I think it's common that men also take care, and is probably the social media influence. We don't know what it is. But what has changed? And why has everyone all of a sudden become so very conscious of their image?
I think in India, probably, because of probably the rising income levels. Earlier, there were other things to worry about, like roti kapda makan. But, once people's lifestyles have changed, the disposable income has increased, the comforts in life have increased. They are finding time to, focus on themselves. And that is what, social media also says, you have to focus on yourself. So as a part of this trend, men are increasingly, looking at themselves, how they look, how the world perceives them, how they want to look better in society. And society also, plays importance to these things. And so in an increasingly image conscious society, men are also, going more and more for aesthetics procedures. But I would still say that the market is has not become that big. There is a lot of room for growth also.
But has the social media also contributed to this?
Definitely, I think social media is contributing to everything that is happening around us.
Now, I think it's good to understand even the business point of view or the journey of you as an entrepreneur. What was that kind of transition point in your entrepreneurial journey which made you decide to step into an industry which is quite sensitive, which is quite, trust driven? Because this involves, since we got to know what is a procedure, there is a lot of things which one has to go through. It's all dependent on the trust, the confidence that you have. What made you switch to such an industry?
I basically come from an IT background with exposure to computers, marketing, online, etc. So,
was that your own company?
Yes, that was my own company, and we had an office in Dubai. So I had an office in Dubai for around 8 years, which gave me a lot of international exposure. And as a group, we are a group of 4 friends who have started Hairocraft. So we earlier had taken up a franchisee from a hair transplant company. So we had exposure to this industry, and we found that those were early days of hair transplant. We felt that this is a market that is going to hold a lot of promise in the future. And as I mentioned earlier, I had my fill of computers and programming and all that. So I want to try something different. So I felt that this would be a good area to explore. Moreover, I was in Dubai, and there the industry, the marketing, the cosmetic industry was much more evolved. So we had exposure to a lot of products. So that's why I decided to come back and get into this.
Another thing which is quite interesting for me was your father was the first one to have started the computer-based selling computers in Kerala, if I'm not wrong.
So that was not selling computer. Actually, he started one of the first computer service
center
businesses. So at that point of time, we were doing.
What was the name of that company?
The name of the company is, in short, it's called CAMS.
Okay.
So
was that in Calicut?
No, that was in Cochin.
Cochin.
So that was started in 79 by my dad.
1979.
1979. And we were doing a lot of data processing for banks in Kerala. At that point of time, there were 7 banks with headquarters in Kerala. So we were doing data processing for all those banks. To name a few: Federal Bank, South Indian Bank, Nedungadi Bank, Dhanlakshmi Bank, State Bank of Travancore. So that was early days, very, very early days for the computer. So I got exposed to computers at a young age. So after my education, I went into that field, and then decided to take a step back. CAMS is still running. We are doing. We have a lot of clients in the US, UK. So that business is there also.
It's still there.
It's still there, yeah.
Your father started in 1979, is still there.
It's still there.
Interesting. And healthcare and aesthetics, I think it operates on reputation building. It operates on a lot of marketing, advertising. Right. How difficult or how challenging is it to build a trust and credibility for a brand in an industry which demands quite a lot?
Trust and credibility in healthcare is very, very difficult to achieve and maintain. So we started off quite early into the industry. So we've had the luck of being the early bird. So we got to build a base of customers, and from day one we were very sure that we wanted to give a good service, a good result, a good experience, good medical facilities. And so that's why we feel we've been able to come up to this level. But in healthcare, marketing is always a constant challenge. So for example, you do a hair transplant for celebrity, you will find a lot of people flocking to you. But at the end of the day, you should be able to give a good result. And to give a good result, you need a good team, not only the doctor, the nursing team, customer service. So it's very difficult to get that place in the mind of the consumer. It's a very difficult industry to be in. Healthcare is a very difficult industry.
You said that you started off with one branch, and now you have 13 in Kerala alone, and then in other states as well. What were some of these specific challenges that you faced while you were scaling up your business?
So one, of course, healthcare, like many businesses, dependent on people. So the first thing that you need is a good team. So when you go to a new location, you have to identify a team. So getting the right people on board was the biggest challenge. Other than that, in terms of scaling, setting up a process, we have set up a corporate team internally with a general manager, with a full-fledged call center for operations, handling calls, a quality team, a purchase team, an accounts team, etc. So setting up that corporate part of the business was also a challenge. But fortunately, some of us had experience in big corporate before. So that actually helped us to streamline operations, set up operations.
And I'm sure in an industry where a lot is built on trust, but sometimes it can happen that the client didn't get the expected results,
Right.
or they became emotionally vulnerable when they got to know that the hairline has further receded. So how do you deal with her? Has there been such cases?
I think in the life of every doctor and every clinic, such cases would be there. But as I said earlier, one is would be in terms of setting expectations right from the outset. So when you have a lot of clinics, it is sometimes difficult to manage expectations or train the doctors properly. But I think it all kudos to our doctors, for ensuring that they have set expectations reasonably. And when the patient, there will always be patients who come back saying that no, this is not the result that we have expected. We expected more. So we analyze, we take his pictures at the time of consultation, after the procedure, and when the hair has grown. Then we compare that and tell the person, okay, this has been your journey. This is what we've been able to do. And then we look at what solution can we offer. It could be in terms of doing some maintenance treatments like this, or in the odd case it could be that we will tell them, okay, we can do one more session for you, so that that particular area is also covered. So that is all part of the journey.
Okay.
And in most cases, we've not had any serious complaints. But there is also the case where sometimes the customer comes back saying, that this has not been done. But in certain cases where it's not our responsibility, we have to tell them, sorry, we are not able to help you. And sometimes they'll threaten us saying, we are going to put this on social media. And we've also had people go to the police station and complain. But when the police hear our version of event, then they understand that okay, they have done what they could. And in such case also, we tell the customer, this is something that we can do for you. But sometimes the customer says, okay, you have to refund the entire treatment.
Has there been such cases?
Yeah, there have been instances where the patient asks that, but no, we would tell them that, no, sorry, we would not be able to do that because there is a cost to the procedure that has been done. And in fact, in our consent form that they sign before the procedure, we tell them that what we are charging is for doing the procedure, and not we cannot promise you that this is the exact result, because it is not in her hand. There are a lot of things which is depend on the customer. Again, all the factors: genetics, food, lifestyle, stress. Also, how he takes care of his hair post-transplant. So all these are important things which is totally not in our hands. What our doctors can do is make a good assessment, make sure that the procedure is done safely, make sure that we place the actual number of grafts. And there are clinics, which say 3,000 grafts, and most of them will do only say 2,200 grafts. So early on, we realized that such a problem exists. So what we do is, once we extract all the grafts, we lay it out on a tray in a countable fashion in groups of 5.
Okay.
And we tell the patient to count that. We take a photograph, we take a signature, so that he cannot
complain.
Yeah, it is also a part of transparency. Not only that they do not complain.
That's how you build the credibility.
Yeah, and we want to make it transparent. See, for example, if you go to a shop and you buy a kilo of sugar, they would normally weigh it on the scale. Nowadays in supermarket, they may not have that. May not happen, so that the customer knows I have got what I paid for. So in the same way, we lay it out on the tray, make sure that they count it, so that they also tell, okay, these guys have done this. Now to do that, there's a whole lot of exercise and a whole lot of effort that goes in, which many clinics would not do that. So once we do these things, and later on a complaint comes, we tell them this is what is possible, this is what we can do from our side. And most often we go the extra mile, even though we don't need to do that, we go and do that. But the odd instance would be there where the client still complains on, say they put a bad review. But anybody who checks this, they might find, say 300 good reviews and maybe 3 or 4 bad reviews. So it is for them to judge,
One common term that we get to hear in this industry is PRP, GFC, and there are a lot of other terms also, but these two are very common. Can you just tell us so that a layman can understand what these two are, PRP and GFC?
First, I'll talk about PRP. PRP is platelet-rich plasma. So, plasma is or platelet-rich plasma is something which can aid growth. It is not only for the hair; it could be for the skin, or it could be for the muscle also. So, what happens is, you take the blood from the patient, you put it in a centrifuge, and you separate the plasma. This plasma is injected back into the scalp at different points. So this injected plasma will provide nutrients which will help the hair to grow in a stronger way.
Okay.
You also find that PRP is also used in a lot of other applications. For example, if you have done a knee surgery and you need that area to recover, you have PRP injections there.
Okay.
GFC is a slightly different form of PRP where there are growth factor concentrates also added to the mixture. So these are external particles which provide a little more stimulus rather than just plain plasma. So, and GFC or growth factor concentrate is slightly more expensive than PRP. We find that PRP, both of these are effective, and sometimes it varies from patient to patient which one is more effective. But these are two things which are commonly advised to patients for strengthening the hair.
After the hair transplant, is it mandatory that one has to do PRP treatment?
Yes.
How frequent should one be doing
so we suggest, so along with each hair transplant package, we provide around 4 to 5 PRP treatments. And usually one PRP treatment is taken before the procedure.
Okay.
And the rest for, say, starting 1 month after the procedure. So at monthly intervals, you can, or 3-week intervals, you can take a PRP session. And in fact, we also recommend patients to take PRP sessions once every year. Okay. So that, that is the bare minimum that you can do to support hair growth.
Do you think the society is becoming more accepting, or the society is more conscious about all these cosmetic industry and they are okay? Has it become normalized to do cosmetic surgeries or even hair transplant?
Definitely it has become normalized. I'm sure in the future it will become much more normalized because people are shedding inhibitions. People want to, spend time and money on themselves. They want to look better. They want to feel better. And they want to, maximize what they can get out of life. And cosmetics is definitely an important part of that.
Is there anything that worries you as an entrepreneur about the future of the aesthetics industry, and maybe more specifically on the hair transplant as well?
I think, the future of the industry is bright. Of course, on a day-to-day basis, business has challenges. You see a lot of, competitors coming up. If you look at many clinics in Kerala, you will find somebody who's at least worked in Hairocraft. Somebody who's worked there previously. You'll find them in most of the clinics. So we are proud to say that also. But the future is definitely bright. There'll be a lot of regulation coming in. So companies will have to, improve standards, improve facilities, improve their medical teams. And a lot of technology is coming. In fact, AI is coming. So that has also its positives and negatives. For example,
what does the AI intervention as hair transplant?
Not in hair transplant as such, but in the overall aesthetic industry. For example, in diagnosing a skin disease, or even say, for example, you have any condition on your hair, you can, there are various tools where, you can just upload a photo and they'll give you a quick diagnosis. I've even heard that, Open AI or Chat GPT, they're about to release a specific variant for this.
Okay.
So where, you can just upload your photo. In fact, there are many tools which are already there. So how that is going to come up will always be a challenge. But if you look at hair transplant, it always requires a doctor, a physical service is required. So there is no threat from AI as such. But there is a new technology, robotic hair transplant, which is there in certain countries. it has its plus and minuses. So these are, variety of technologies are coming in. So we have to see, what is good for the market, what is good for India, and what is good for the business. So taking into consideration all these things, the future is very bright, I would say. And we are also planning to expand into aesthetics. We have already built up our clinics in South India.
Mhm.
So in the next few years, we want to see how we can provide more services to our customers.
Is there any global expansion plans?
We had considered branching out the Middle East for some time, but there's a lot of investment needed and there's a lot of attention needed there. India is a very, very big market, and we've touched only one small part of it. So we would, at HeroCraft, we would prefer to focus on India and specifically on South India and focus all our attention there.
Let's say there is someone who's watching our interview, our conversation, and is struggling to take a decision. What would your advice be to such a person? What would be your genuine, suggestion to such people?
So if you're looking at a hair transplant, the first step I would say is to come for a consultation. I would say come to HeroCraft for a consultation. Talk to our doctors. I would definitely advise go to our competitors, also check a few of them, and then you take a decision. There is nothing to be scared about on hair transplant. So I would definitely advise them to go ahead with this after consulting a good doctor or a good clinic.
If there is any one last comment or any observation that you wish to before we close, I would leave it to you, sir.
I think rightly said. It's just not about restoring hair. It's about restoring confidence. It's about restoring image. And we've been very happy when we have customers coming in and saying you have transformed our life, because just a matter of getting a good mane of hair that gives them the confidence to tackle so many different aspects of life, whether it be the family, friends, colleague, work, career.
Even to find a partner, so many of them are struggling because
absolutely. So we feel privileged to have customers who come to us saying that we've been able to transform their life. That is just a great feeling, and we hope we can do that in a better way in the future also.